Hello everyone, this video is on impatience and rushing. And sometimes if we're sensitive, we can pick up on feeling that we're not okay and that we need to add more to who we are to be accepted, to be loved, to be safe. And it can lead to this impulse to create before we're ready to do that creation, to push ourselves when we're tired, to feel insecure around others that we perceive are moving faster than us, to trample people that seem to be getting in our way to our goal. And it really leads to a loss of life. It's life killing, like rushing around, pushing people out of the way, being hard on yourself, kills your life force. And that's why sometimes it can be very depressing to achieve that goal and to still not feel the relief that we experienced we would feel when we got there. And so people can get into existential crises when they attain their goals and they're miserable after attaining them. When they hold up that Oscar, but after the ceremony or even during the ceremony, there's, wow, I still feel miserable. So why did I spend my whole life chasing this? And having an Oscar and winning an Oscar is wonderful and it is life supporting. But if we do it because there's a vacuum we're looking to fill, and then that vacuum doesn't get filled, then it can lead to disappointment. Because the only vacuum that is ever going to be filled is the vacuum that will only allow transcendental intelligence and consciousness to be inside of it, to fill it. And so, an easier way of saying that is what you're looking for isn't outside of yourself, it's within yourself. Pardon the cliche. I know that might not be fun because we love chasing our goals. But if we know and we trust that we're designed to be of use just by being, and that us just being is enough, and that there aren't really any goals to be fulfilled, then we can just relax and we don't have to rush and be impatient or push people out of the way because nature never rushes. Nature is in contact permanently with a cosmic intelligence that organizes the timing of everything and gives everything to everything at all times that it needs. And just by being born, you are enough. Just by embodying in this timeline, it's done. Nature takes care of everything else. Nature's designed you for a purpose. It can organize your timeline. It will also scan the people who will get a job done. And so if you just show up and say, how can I be of service? Please use me. Look up to the sky, just set a gentle intention. Then it's done. It's done. It's done. It is done. There's no pushing required. I repeat this theme in many of my videos that nothing is ever wasted. And so just by the fact that you are alive now, you are going to be used every moment of every day. You can't escape that. Just by being born, you are useful. Just by being who you are, experiencing your life, feeling your emotions, trying to figure it out, that's enough. It doesn't have to get really grand. You don't need to figure out some mathematical equation and create some machine or go to the moon. That's fine if it happens spontaneously, but you don't need to do anything to be of use. And so the discomfort with pushing comes from a misunderstanding that we're not okay if we're not being productive, and that we just turn ourselves into a commercial product that needs to produce to be useful, to have friends. A lot of the time there is a subconscious belief, or maybe even a conscious one, that unless we produce in the form of making other people happy, in the form of monetarily gaining some change in our bank, or building something, or creating a family, or being of service in physical ways or emotional ways in the kingdom. If we're not doing this, if we're just sitting with our feet up, then we don't have a right to exist, and other people, deserve to look down on us, and that we're lazy and we're no good and we're better off dead in certain circumstances. And people look at the homeless population like this, and it's horrific. Like they're wastes of space, and they're no good, and they need to be eradicated, and it's making other people uncomfortable to look at them. But those are saints on the street. Those people have chosen to embody and dissolve collective stress. And how they dissolve collective stress is by living a life which reflects the pain and suffering of humanity. And in living that pain and suffering in humanity, and just staying alive and cultivating a way of being so that they don't take their life, or they can just stay in the body, learning how to do that, embodying that, gives everybody else that has a home an intelligence that they wouldn't have had there not been homeless people. And so you ask, well, what intelligence am I getting from being around homeless people? Well, those homeless people might be feeling things that you're not willing to feel, might be experiencing things that you're not willing to experience, might have the ability to do more lifting than you can, and that's their purpose. We don't know who these homeless people are. We don't know what they're doing. They might not actually know what they're doing in the personality, but their higher being knows what they're doing and has chosen to have that life. And so, whoever you're interacting with, you don't need to push them to do anything other than they are doing. And that can be irritating because we like to judge other people, and we like to think, well, you're not being productive, or you need to figure your life out, or it's not okay, or I feel uncomfortable looking at you, or you're pointing out my weaknesses, or I, f- I don't want to see you. It's making me uncomfortable. And we can get impatient that we need to figure it out and sort things out and get all stressed, and then just add that stress into the collective. But we don't need to do that. We can just trust that nature's designed everybody for a purpose, and everybody's doing that every day. They can't not do it. So everybody is automatically at all times doing what they're supposed to be doing. Are homeless people supposed to be homeless? Well, they're doing it, so there must be a benefit to them on some level, otherwise it wouldn't exist. And this goes back to another theme, that nature doesn't do anything that isn't of service to humanity long term. And so if you are one of those people that struggles in life, that has chosen to take a difficult life, well, good for you. Thank you for doing what other people couldn't do. And that's why I call homeless people saints on the street, because they are saints and they should never be looked down upon. Everybody is used, everybody is doing things in unseen realms, everybody is adding to collective intelligence, dissolving collective stress in creative and unusual ways. And in India, this is known. I mean, people do tapas, they do things too, which are tantric, like holding their arm up for 20 years, or growing their nails or hair, or staying in a position. And there's a reason why they do that. Not everybody's designed to do that. Not everybody needs to do that. It's a difficult path. But if they've been called to do it, then that's how it is. And so that is correct for them. So if you feel that you need to do something and you're beating up on yourself for not doing it in time, or you're procrastinating, then just relax, meditate, and listen. And in the silence, there might be a subtle impulse of an idea or a thought or an enthusiasm, and follow that, because nature communicates through that subtle enthusiasm, that subtle excitement. Oh, that's my next step. And you don't need to figure it out all at once. And if nothing comes through, then nothing comes through. And then nature's saying, it's not time. But if we just set the intention every day to connect, then it will be downloaded. And we never know why certain people get certain ideas at certain times. Nature will just scan and say, oh, that person will get the job done, and it'll give the idea to that person. Oh, that person will get that job done, we'll give that job to that person. Oh, well, that person is homeless, so they can dissolve some stress around impermanence, and that's what they'll do. And some other person might have some writing skills, so then they'll give an idea for a book to that person. Somebody else might have a mathematical inclination, they might give some idea to that person that leads to some medical breakthrough. So cultivating anything that nature's given us as gifts will help with the downloads that can come through our human physiology. And nature communicates through our human physiology at all times. So taking care of the human physiology, sleeping, eating well, staying hydrated, practicing whatever skill set that we are enthusiastic about, having our daily meditation or prayer, just doing the basic spring cleaning every day, setting the stage for the downloads to arrive, and then just sitting back because nature knows the timeline, and then we don't need to rush because we're not in charge. We're not in charge of when things happen. We're not in charge. And so we can't pat ourselves on the back when things happen, and when we write a book, or when we have an insight. It's not our book, it's not our insight. It belongs to a collective intelligence that's used us to do something at some time, which maybe we don't fully understand. And so that's also an insight that arises in time, that we don't claim any pride or any ownership in anything that we accomplish, because it's not ours. It's not our idea. Um, the idea belongs to everybody, and somebody gets given it to sometimes make it into a physical reality. Other times, we can create realities very quickly in our mind and then live them in our mind, and then they're done. And they may not always need to become a physical reality. But if we're pushing and we want them to be made into a physical reality, then it can be very frustrating. So, for instance, sometimes some people live many lives in one life. And what I mean by this is that they have a very fast moving evolution. And so there's no space for them to make certain themes into a physical reality. So what will happen, it will occur as an idea, and that idea will come to a conclusion in a creative space in the mind, and then it doesn't need to be made into a physical reality. So you might have an idea for a company, or you might have an idea to do something, or you might have an idea of a relationship, or whatever it might be. It might just all happen in a visualization and concluded in a visualization, and not needed to be made physical. Not need You don't need to meet that person. You don't need to set up that business. You don't need to do it physically. But if we think we need to do it physically, then we can get very impatient or irritated, thinking that we've failed or we haven't made it into a physical reality. But not everything needs to be made physical. The largest part of the universe is non-physical. In fact, the physical stuff's like kind of irrelevant a lot of the time. People get really caught up on it, want to manifest things into the physical. But when you start traversing the realms of the non-physical, that can start becoming more real than the physical, which can trip people out, but is the truth. And so don't, it's nice and we like to show people something physical, like, look, I built this remote control and it is real. Or I built the iPhone and it is real, and I can make calls to other people at the other side of the world. Well, that's not really that impressive, because once you start astral traveling, you can communicate with beings which are non-human, which a phone can't do. And so that is a realm which will start to be traversed as the human species evolves, and we are moving to a new platform of awareness, and that's where we're going. And we don't need to rush and feel impatient that we need to develop these psychic abilities or these abilities to communicate with things. It will just happen, and it will happen when we stop pushing and we stop being impatient, and we just relax and we don't feel that we're not enough, because the ability to connect with non-physical is who is so easy for us. It's just all this stuff, like we're just so caught up in physical stuff and what other people think, and the ego and survival of the physical body, when we're more non-physical and physical, and it just gets very noisy. But we are moving in another direction. We can see that we're moving in another direction by how popular meditation is. It never was. It was thought to be weird or strange. And if you meditated, then you better hide it and do it behind closed doors. Same yogas become popular. And that's because the vibe is high and people are sensing that if I stop and I stop pushing and I don't do anything, then I might get somewhere that I couldn't get otherwise. Isn't that strange that I'm going to sit and I'm not going to do anything? And by non doing, I get somewhere that I couldn't get through doing. And that place, the non doing place, is way more powerful than the doing place, the physical world doing place. But also, it infuses the physical plane with a cosmic intelligence and takes over and does things for you. So, when that stillness is permanently established, then it feels like you as an individual are not acting. There's a force that's acting on your behalf. So you don't act. You're doing things, but you almost feel like you're not choosing or doing it yourself. So you're like a bit of a puppet. And when you're a bit of a puppet, it's pretty stress free because you don't have to make a decision, sort of, to do things. They're just done. And you get nagged to do things. You can't not do things because a sort of sleeping intelligence wakes up. And then once you are not doing, but doing, and it gets a bit confusing, then there's no impatience, there's no pushing. Everything just happens spontaneously. There is one area that you can create a little bit of a push, and that's maybe if you need to establish healthy habits like going to bed on time or cutting out refined sugars or you know setting boundaries sometimes when you need to or whatever it is that's healthy. You can do that, making a little bit of an effort, but other than that, you don't need to make any effort. It gets done for you. And sleeping, like I keep repeating, sleep's important. At a certain point, we become awake in sleep, and I'll do another video on that. But this is just a beginner video to get us kicking off in the right direction. And I will elaborate in further videos. Thank you.